It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon. As promised, back here at 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. I am Joe Mangiacotti, and this is the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. And you can join the conversation over the next hour at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000, or join us via the text line. That's up and running at 617-297-8388. You can text into the show, or the station, I should say, like you would text anyone else. It appears on the screen here in the studio, and we try to incorporate you into the conversation. Today, behind the glass, flying the board, he'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation again at 508-871-7000. The station does stream 24/7 on the TuneIn app, and I do stream my show on my social media platforms at Joe Mangiacotti Show. That's Facebook, X, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and live to the Rumble channel. Yes, the Joe Mangiacotti Show does have a channel on Rumble. It's later loaded up to Twitch TV if you want to watch it there. But we're a live show and a call-in show at 508-871-7000, so feel free to join the conversation. And the other thing is the show is turned into a podcast, so you can subscribe. If you miss it, or you're working at 1 o'clock or what have you, you can subscribe at Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast. Podbean, go there, check it out, and then you can do that. Those downloads have increased in the last couple of months, so thank you for that. A lot to talk about. This whole thing with the Signal conversation, which, by the way, Signal apparently all right, let me set this straight, okay? Because it doesn't matter whether it's Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp used to be considered a secure thing too, but then Facebook or Meta bought it. Anything on a smartphone, folks, is not secure. Bottom line, okay? No matter what you have or what you think you have for an encryption device, if you're using your smartphone, you're compromised already. To tell you the truth, you're more secure with a flip phone. A flip phone is actually secure because it doesn't have the ability to break into it. Smartphones can be taken over by a bad actor, and that would usually mean foreign governments or terrorist organizations for that matter. And they can even turn it into a listening device or a camera on you. So understand that. When you're on your smartphone, do not have you have a false sense of security, but don't fall into that trap. If you actually want a secure conversation or texting, go to a flip phone. That being said, the fact that Telegram, and in this case Signal, is used by our government to have these level, I mean, they're talking about bombing Yemen, right? That they use this application is actually kind of scary, I guess. And it's normal. It's not like this happened just now, as in testimony today. Signal's was loaded up on all these, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard or any of these new people who have just taken on a lot of intelligence roles, including Pete Hegseth. The Signal app is loaded up onto their computers because it was used in the Biden administration too. Now, when you think that we would have a much more secure, private type of communication system for our directors of intelligence and military, all right. That being said, we'll get more into that. But we do, as always, have a packed show. What to talk about, right? A lot of big stories that the mainstream media, well, let's just say they're not always handling the truth about, as well as, they say a toddler handles a gallon of milk. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting real tired of the usual suspects trotting out the same tired baseless attacks. But hey, that's why we're here, right? To separate fact from fiction and shine a little light on where the left would rather keep you in the dark. Ted, you have something?
Yeah, this guy from the Atlantic.
Yep.
I wish somebody would ask him the question, why are you telling us this?
Yeah.
What's your motivation?
Yeah.
Because it's a gotcha.
It is.
It's a gotcha.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that. Is this an Atlanta gotcha moment? And then the other thing is, if you were a man of character, you might have said, "Hey guys, just checking, am I supposed to be on this conversation?" That would have been the civil thing to do, you Jamal. It would have been question. I may have been included here. This is probably something I shouldn't be doing, but again, he's Atlanta, right? It's the Atlantic or whatever it is, and they're always looking for that gotcha thing. So we'll talk about this. It's very interesting to watch some of the questioning on it, and of course, we've also got this situation with these judges in the deportation. And let's be clear on something, because when I see members of Congress, well, look at it. I've seen members of Congress refer to illegals as their constituents, so they don't really understand, I think, the terminology and what they're talking about a lot of times. And for one thing, if you're not an American citizen and you're here illegally, you are not entitled to the same due process and protections and rights as an American citizen. So I hope you understand that. Exactly. So this isn't happening to American citizens. This is happening to illegals, people who have entered this country illegally and then they've committed more crimes.
Criminal aliens.
And the thing about this is, if you are picked up and you feel that, for some reason you have a right, you should, and this 3-panel judge was an interesting dialogue, but it should be coming from Texas. One of them made that good point, not D.C. But if you are scooped up in this, you have the right to ask for a writ of habeas corpus. And that's the normal way this is done. And what does that mean? Well, that kind of requires, if the jail, the government, and any form of government has you in custody, you have the right to ask or file a writ of habeas corpus, which gets you in front of a judge, and then the government has to explain why you should be in custody. And habeas corpus is Latin for you should have the body. And it's an equitable remedy in this case, by which a report can be made to a court alleging that an unlawful detention or imprisonment of an individual it has happened, and you're requesting that the court order the individual's custodian, now that's usually prison or jail, and maybe Border Patrol or ICE, to bring the prisoner to court to determine whether there is detention is lawful. That's happens all the time. So for these judges, especially at the level they are, to think that they can affect these decisions, and all that it takes is that the Secretary of State has made that determination. That's it. In other words, in layman's term, this is over these judges' pay grade, quite frankly. It's not in their scope. But here's the thing. These left-leaning judges, activist judges, don't believe in that. They believe that they are right. Just like when you have protesters who think they're exempt from rules, that protests in their case means violence, burning Teslas, physically, stabbing yard signs, ripping. There's a video going around on the internet. It's gone viral. It's fantastic. It's some liberal left Karen on the subway, and a young gentleman, a young guy wearing, of course, the red MAGA hat, which is, like a bull seeing a red cape, right? They go nuts over this. And she's screaming at him. How dare she wear this? This is in New York. And everybody on the car, the subway car, they're not cheering her on. One gentleman even says to her, he has every right to wear that. First of all, Trump won the election. He has every right to wear that. What is your problem? And she decides that she's going to rip this hat off this kid's head. And he's putting his hands up, and he's backing up, and he's just like, lady, just leave me alone. And when she goes and lunges towards him, he runs away, and she's kind of heavy set and she falls flat on her face. I could watch that on loop for hours. But here's the thing, because you never see a viral clip of this, of a MAGA supporter, a guy wearing the red hat, going after somebody with a Kamala or a Biden t-shirt on. It just doesn't happen that way. Have you ever noticed it? It doesn't flow that way. But at some point, that woman or somebody like her is going to do that to the wrong person, and she's going to fall the other way. Yeah, it's just, it's going to happen at some point. But on this Atlantic, is this an oops moment or a manufactured scandal? Let's start with the latest hit piece here from the Atlantic. Now, I use the term piece loosely because it's about as solid as Swiss cheese in a lot of ways. The editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, you might remember him from such classics as the Russian collusion hoax and the Trump hates the military hoax. And he's back again. This guy must have thought he hit the lottery when he realized he was on this chain. This time he's claiming that he was accidentally added to a Signal chat with Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and other top officials. And he allegedly saw sensitive war plans about our operation against the Houthis in Yemen. Okay, folks, I don't know about you, right? But this whole thing, it does smell fishier than the docks up in Gloucester in a lot of ways. Now, the White House admits that the journalist somehow got added to a private chat. But they're also saying there's nothing to see here. No threats to national security. I don't know if you can have those both ways. So that's not right, because given the group of people on there and what they're talking about, there probably is some stuff this guy should not have been exposed to. But I do put some of it back on him because he knowingly was in there. But here's the thing. How does he get put on that? I'm not a big Signal user, but my understanding is it's initials and stuff. But somebody should have to be responsible at the level that this is put together. Chief of staff or somebody needs to be tasked with confirming. I think 28 people were on this thing, that all of the people who are on there are who they say they are. Because, Pete Hegseth goes on, but so does his number one and his deputy and maybe his aide, right? So for every one of these positions is another one or two people from that person's office. I mean, that's like when Trump makes a phone call, any president makes a phone call. It's not just the president. There's like 16 people on that phone call, which is how we got the whole Ukraine thing and the impeachment. Because Vindman took it upon himself that he didn't like the fact that he asked Zelensky, do you think you can work with my AG about all this corruption? But folks, we have to take our first break here on the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. We'll go to the phones. Mark's waiting patiently on the other side of the break, so stick with us. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. From top quality fuel to freshly stocked snacks and essentials, Yatco has you covered. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quonsigamut Ave in Worcester. For Yatco rewards, simply download the Yatco app and sign up. Friendly, clean, local, and always convenient. Make Yatco your favorite food and fuel stop. Stop by Yatco food and fuel stations today and experience the Yatco difference. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment here of the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. Don't forget that we do stream the show on social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, MANGI. That's Facebook, X, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and, of course, the Rumble channel. So please join us there as well. And don't forget the text line, 617-297-8388. Wall Street Journal says that American women are giving up on marriage because they're too picky. I think the pool of men has gotten soft. I think that, Ted, that it's more, I think that women still want manly men. Men. What was that, Monty Python or something? 508-871-7000. Mark's been waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you?
I was listening to the morning drive out of Boston. You know of whence I speak, right?
Sure.
And, I'm not going to give him a free plug on another guy's show because that ain't cool, and I don't roll that way.
That.
But anyways, he went on to say, this is the host of the show, he went on to say that he heard a Who's this guy with the Atlantic? What's his name?
Goldberg.
Goldberg. All right. Editor-in-chief for the Atlantic, which is way to the left. But that's neither here nor there, or is it? So anyways, Mr. Goldberg, apparently he went on a post-mortem exhibit on MSNBC where they interviewed him. Have you heard that?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, well, anyways, according to him, he did it. He played I believe he played an audio clip of it, or he gave it, verbatim pretty much of
he posted a copy of the messages, parts of them. Yeah. I saw that on X. Yeah.
So anyways, according to what he said this morning, that during the course of the interview, the interviewer asked Mr. Goldberg, he said, will you be willing to name the names of everybody on that, what they call it, chat line or whatever the heck it is, that they were supposedly on?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And he said, yes, he would, with the exception of one. And you know why he said he would not name the last one?
No, why?
He said it was a U.S. intelligence operative or,
So in other words, a rank and file type of agent that probably would have compromised them and someone gets hurt. Thank you, Mark, for the call. Here's the thing on that. And again, my opinion on this is that Goldberg is a schmuck for staying on there. And the classy thing would have been, and he could have gone a long way of restoring a certain amount of journalistic integrity if he had piped up and said, guys, it's me, Goldberg, here from the Atlantic. Am I supposed to be on this chat? That's what a real journalist would have done. And certainly, at minimum, a real journalist would have, if they stayed there, would not have used this as a hit piece because of the national security implications to this. But he is who he is. Zebra's not going to change its stripes.
Joe, when I first heard this story, I chuckled because I thought it was just another example of the Trump administration trolling somebody into a situation where they're going to bury themselves.
And he
did.
Yeah, and he did in a lot of ways. And Hex's response is kind of classic. He called out Goldberg for what he is, guys. A so-called journalist who has built a career on pushing lies. And let's not forget, the Atlantic is the same rag that tried to convince you that Trump called fallen soldiers suckers and losers, which was a complete and utter fabrication, along with the one about the amputees and stuff. And Trump said, oh, they're gross, and he doesn't want to watch them in a parade. All fabricated. Never, ever said. Nobody ever could produce any evidence to that. So let's ask the real question here. Why is the media obsessed with texting mistake? but not with the fact that Trump just wiped out the Houthi threat, restored deterrence in the region. Why do they always focus on process crimes instead of actual results, or in some cases, the actual crime? Right? It's because they can't argue with the success. They can't argue with the fact that our enemies fear us again. So instead, they have to create this ridiculous distraction. And I got to tell you, I'm not buying it. Now, this should not have happened. It's not a matter of if it did or not. It did. It was admitted in today, right? Because they were getting the threat assessment today. Tulsi Gabbard was there and all the other players. So this thing happened, should not have happened. I'm pretty confident that it will never happen again if they ever even use Signal. And you would think, again, come on, guys. I mean, the internet was originally actually created for the military to communicate with each other. It was a project given to MIT,
The Defense Department,
and from the Defense Department, to be able to communicate with the field and generals and battalions and talk among each other in a secure way. And they created the internet. Now, I know Al Gore takes credit for that and all that, but this was in the 80s. And we had the name escapes me, the predecessor to the internet.
DARPANET was around in the
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah, well, yeah, we go back to that. And then it was expanding in the very early 80s. And even then, in the early 80s, they were talking about the implications of what this would be, even though it was, look, almost so many things in our daily life were developed by the Defense Department, like cellular phones. GPS was something that was created for military to be able to know where they are and track movements and communicate. So a lot of the things that are in normal everyday life were decades ahead, were classified projects that existed. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. What else is going on? We've got Biden's budget meltdown. The economy is in free fall there. But hey, it's not just the media. Yeah, not just the media playing games over here in Washington. But we've got Biden's latest, Biden's, what did I say there? Proposals. I got to tell you, I don't know where I just went into that. We fell into Biden. Where did that come from? But anyway, border chaos. Border chaos. Border security. We have had millions of illegals cross. The numbers is down drastically. I mean, for all intents and places that we had thousands of people crossing this point last year is one person crossing at this point. It is crazy. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. This call on the Atlantic busted and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he did face a lot, or is facing a lot of scrutiny over this. And Jeffrey Goldberg, who claimed he was accidentally added to this. Now, this Signal group chat, again, I'm not a Signal user. Like I said, you have this false sense of security. You're more secure on a flip phone. That I guess you use initials. The whole identity isn't always there. So they were mistaking his initials for somebody else. But they did confirm, the White House National Security Council confirmed that, in fact, the journalist was on there. And Hegseth didn't do the confirm or deny thing, which is standard for that kind of position. But he did emphasize the real issue that Trump's administration is restoring military deterrence after years of failed policies and emboldened enemies like the Houthis. And that's really what the focus should be on.
The thing is simply what the guy stated. And if he truly believed that he was on a call with secure and classified information with players that could be identified, and he volunteered to disclose that information and the names of the players, that in itself is a crime.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They should be talking to him, and I understand First Amendment and all that, sure, but they should have a conversation with him about the fact that once he realized that he was privy to this, and again, this is the thing that they wouldn't answer I was watching the hearings before the show, and I forget the Democratic senators, and he's asking, well, was this a classified conversation? And Tulsi Gabbard saying, I'm not going to discuss this. This is under review by the National Security Council. And he's going, well, if it's not classified, then give us the text, show it to us, that's a technique in questioning and so forth. And here's the thing. No, I'm not going to show it to you because I don't have to show it to you. And yes, we overclassify everything, right? So that's kind of a weird area to get to as a classified. When the White House does a dinner, the menu's classified. So what level of classification? There's classified, and then there's secret, then there's top secret, then there's eyes only, then there's compartmentized eyes only, which is a whole nother level of it. But the legacy media, it's basically added again, pushing another Trump narrative, right as the administration is rebuilding America's military strength. And I think it's blowing their minds that they're going to name or have named, right, the latest generation of fighter jet, the F-47, after 47th president. So the Atlantic has a track record of pushing hoaxes. This is the other thing. So when, and out of all the people to mistakenly get added, it's this Jamoke. Because like I said, they were huge on the Russian collusion, on the suckers and losers military smear, and latest attempts to embarrass Trump and his team. This is, to him, he hit the lottery. He was so.
The Atlantic is starting to sound like the Old World magazine.
The Old World.
No, just the World.
The World, yeah.
Where they had the pictures of the Pixies.
Anyway, this was certainly a signal text mishap. Trump and Hexeth are fixing the mess left by the previous administration. This in the big picture, not a good thing. Shouldn't have happened. Not the end of the world that the media would like us to think, and it is a distraction. Let's focus on some of the real issues, folks. We have to take our mid-show break here on the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 in 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. Here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We're going to stick with 50s and partly cloudy skies today. Small chance that you can see an isolated sprinkle around this afternoon, but the forecast is generally dry today. Little better chance that we get a hit or miss shower around on Wednesday afternoon, Thursday and Friday, keeping it dry. And then over the weekend, we've got rain on the way. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. You can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Information central to your day from Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. The MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Don't forget the text line is running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. And a reminder that on Thursdays, usually Fridays at the latest, we do drop the weekly report, and that's a TV show that we do carry the audio on the weekend, but you can always watch it on Twitch TV or on ff.org, or just simply go to the weeklyreport.online. And it's myself and some other senior fellows from the Frontiers of Freedom Institute. That's a DC-based think tank, and we carry the audio. Saturdays, I think, at 1, and Sundays at 2, if you want to listen to that, or just go online and check it out. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phone. Which one we want to take first, Ken? Ken, you're up first, man. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Hi, Joe. I'm going to wait a day or two to comment about today's big story that started yesterday afternoon, the whole phone conversation or texting, whatever it was.
Signal chat.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to fill in to understand before commenting. I wanted to comment about an appellate judge who made comparisons to how we're treating the detainees.
The Nazi comment?
Worse than we treated Nazis. You know, regardless of whether that's a topic or not, lady, you're out of your lane.
Yeah.
That's not your call as a judge.
Exactly.
That's the legislators.
As I said earlier, Ken, that's above your pay grade. That's not your role, because the Secretary of State has made this determination. They have the Enemies Act, and these are not citizens. And for the 980th time, I'm going to say it, if you're not a citizen, you don't enjoy and you don't have the benefit of the same rights and due process as citizens do. You are illegally on this soil. You are a criminal at this point, period.
Yeah, and that's citing actual law. And I don't think these lawyers, judges, that they're trained to be lawyers, have any respect for our system. Is they want to blur distinctions all the time because they think of everything through the lens of globalism. You know, this is the way everything should be, and everybody should think. You know, woke and everything else that's come from it from the 21st century. And I think it originates from the end of the Cold War. So as soon as things were, went from being pretty black and white to grayish, then they wanted to paint their shade of gray and make sure everybody agreed with them.
Right.
And we end up with people way out of their lane, making claims that who cares, shut up.
And another thing, because you kind of touched on it, right? It's almost as if, because the left has kept repeating, again, I always say this, very Orwellian, right? They've changed the terminology and the language we use, and they've changed it from illegal to undocumented. But the word illegal alien is literally in our law, folks. It's that's what the appropriate term is. But if they can change the language, then they can change the thought process. And now you've got members of Congress, you've got governors, you've got AGs, and now you've got judges who are forgetting that these are not citizens, and that they are forgetting that, the law is the law, and they're going along with the feelings that the left have imposed upon us. And as I've said many times on this show and other shows, is part of freedom of speech is not only that you can say what you want short of fire in a crowded theater, but it also means you don't have to say anything, and you can't be forced to say certain things, whether that is being forced to call clearly a biological male a woman, or forced to not use the proper legal term in the case of illegal aliens.
But effectively, when it concerns the judicial branch, there are 3 branches, and much of what their responsibilities are clearly delineated. It's like, okay, here's a line, don't cross the line. but we don't have a mechanism to punish those on the judicial side that cross that line. And because they have lifelong appointments to their positions, and they don't have we do have a tool of impeachment, but it's impossible to remove them.
Yeah, and there is a mechanism there. It's very seldom, if ever, used. And I think that's why Roberts kind of jumped on that, because I think he was panicking that, oh my God, what if they start doing this and impeaching judges? And first of all, Roberts needs to get a spine, as far as I'm concerned. He's trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do, but he needs to, in a lot of cases, not say anything. And in some cases, he needs to speak up and squash things before they get out of proportion. And some of that is telling some of these appellate court judges or appellate judges, stay in your lane, stay within the scope of your authority.
But effectively, we've let this condition by which there's so many judges who flat out don't believe in our Constitution. They're looking to tear it down and
they'll say that straight out, right? That they,
And that effectively, you feel bad for Roberts because his role shouldn't be to police his own. And yet he's like the only thing that can save us, given the situation we're in, whereby the nation is so divided, you don't have a legislative means by which to correct this. And because it's really the legislature's responsibility to clean up after the court's mess, because they're the ones that created these lower courts.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's their responsibility to actually clean it up.
Actually,
yes, it is.
The Federalist Papers clearly define the roles of the three branches of government. And when asked, well, which one is the most powerful, it was clearly stated that Congress and the executive can abolish the courts. Therefore, Congress and the executive have a superior role in our government.
And then you've also got the issue of enforcement. So, judge, the court can say something, but they don't have the mechanism to enforce it either.
Police power.
No police power. I mean, they can impose things, but everyone else has to cooperate with that. But yes, this is not anywhere near over. This is going to continue. Did we lose Russ? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's just this is nowhere over, Ken. That's for sure.
Any more chapters to come?
Many more chapters to come, I think, on this.
And unfortunately, it's like, okay, most things it's like, here's the solution: do X, Y, and Z. This one, it's like, we can't do X, we can't do Y. What do we do?
Yeah.
How do we get out of this mess?
Yeah. Well, again, I think that the Trump people, I think that Trump, when he does this stuff, he has made sure he has told his team, we need to study, look at the Constitution, look at the law,
the rule of law.
Yeah, and make sure we do this. And the left is trying to imply that Trump is defying courts all the time. He's never actually defied the court. He has appealed and beat them many, many times, all the way up to the Supreme Court, but he's never defied an actual order or an injunction. So, and that's now the question is, could the judge actually tell an aircraft in international space, airspace, to turn around? It's just sometimes that's too a military aircraft to boot. But final thought, Ken?
Yeah, and he is. They're saying he's crossing the line by refusing to provide documents that are being requested by this judge, but it's on the basis of power that the president has.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what exactly it's called, but it was invoked yesterday.
Yeah, the Enemies Act,
the judge was,
for one.
Excuse me again?
The Enemies Act, for one.
No, what I'm saying is, in a situation
like the executive privilege of the documents.
Yeah, there's a name specifically for the situation where the judge is requesting further information. Say, no, we don't have to give you it.
Yeah.
Based on fill in the blank.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ken, we'll watch it. Thanks for the call. Always appreciate it. 508-871-7000, folks, to join the conversation. It's 508-871-7000. So the Trump administration is ending the Biden's fraud-ridden migrant parole program. Remember, he had the app, Border Patrol app, and instead of coming illegally over the line, you could just go onto this app, fill in your information with no documentation to back it up, by the way, and then just reserve entry where we would send a plane and fly you from your country into this country and let you and parole you into the interior of the country. And that's what happens when, under the Biden administration, when you illegally entered and you'd reach that, you didn't run, you didn't hide. Under Biden, you came over and you said, hey, where are the Border Patrol? Hey, guys, here I am. And they process you, basically. And they were turning the Border Patrol agents into law enforcement individuals into administrative people. And they're filling out forms and giving you that order to appear or that order to report. And then you're paroled into the country. And once you have that form, now you're technically here illegally because we know you're here. You got to wait 100. If you get that, you wait 120 days and then you can apply for a work permit. But the Trump administration is officially shutting down the Biden-era migrant parole program that allowed over 530,000 foreign nationals from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela to enter the U.S. Now, this program, known as CHNV, it was just a massive disaster, folks. It was riddled with fraud and abuse and loopholes that allowed ineligible migrants to fly into the U.S. en masse instead of crossing the southern border illegally. Again, allowed people who were not eligible migrants to fly directly into the U.S. on your dime, by the way. And the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has confirmed that this program did nothing to stop illegal immigration, didn't serve a public benefit at all, and completely failed in its mission. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that the program will, in fact, be terminated immediately. So Biden's DHS paused the program in 2024 after an internal audit exposed massive fraud here. There were 100,948 CHNV forms completed by just 3,200 sponsors. But we have to take our third and final break here on the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. I'll continue with this on the other side of the break. 508-871-7000. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Perner Logging and Land Clearing, fully equipped with state-of-the-art equipment to handle all of your lot and land clearing needs, whether it's 1 acre or 100. They regularly service customers in the local area and will travel to neighboring communities and beyond to get the job done. Now, whether you're doing new construction, renovations, or clearing land for a new development, the Perner Logging and Land Clearing team of experienced personnel makes small or large jobs run efficiently, giving them the ability to always keep the competitive edge. They'll quote your job from something small to hundreds of acres, factoring in all aspects, including the wood salvage value, if any. In addition, they have the right equipment for each size job, making for the most efficient job site possible. For every job, Perner Logging and Land Clearing make sure the client's goals are the main objective. Call Perner Logging and Land Clearing today for a free estimate, 978-270-9916. That's 978-270-9916.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. And I was talking about, going to the break, the CHNV program. And it allowed anyone in these countries, and like I said, Cuba, Haiti, Niagara, Venezuela, you name it, to go online and then fly in on our dime. And it was such a massive disaster because of the fraud. So Biden's Department of Homeland Security paused the program in last year after an audit exposed this fraud. So you had 100,948 CHNV forms completed by 3,218 sponsors. Then 24 of the 1,000 most used Social Security numbers belonged to dead people, right? The sponsors. And an IP address in Tijuana, Mexico was used over 1,300 times. So for those that don't get that, the IP address is the address for your computer, your CPU unit. So one computer in Tijuana, Mexico was used 1,300 times to make these applications. So basically it was a business. Somebody was using the same computer to fraudulently get hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands, hundreds and thousands of foreigners into the country. And despite these red flags, Biden restarted that program, plainly and clearly allowing more fraudulent entries under this program until it was finally shut down by Trump. So by the end of it, April, CHNV migrants, talk about the people who came in under all this fraudulent, right, will lose their work permits and deportation protection, meaning that they must find legal status, self-deport themselves, or be removed by federal immigration authorities. And Kristi Noem's running that PSA, I guess you'd call it, where she's saying, use the Border Patrol app that used to let you come in here is now called Home. The app is called Home. And you can go on it and self-deport yourself and report that you're leaving the country. And if you do that, they'll allow you to try to come in legally down the road. But if you don't self-deport and you get caught, and she says, and you will get caught, that's it. They'll be deported and never allowed to come back. So the Biden administration didn't want to fix the border. They wanted to keep the floodgates open, clearly. And instead of stopping illegal crossings, they flew in hundreds of thousands of migrants, bypassing legal immigration processes. Republicans called this a fraud from day one. So did some of us in the media, and we were right. Look at it. Dead people are being used as sponsors. One IP address in Mexico used 1,300 times to fill out these applications. Thousands of migrants were given parole despite already living in wealthy European nations. Joe, what does that got to do with it? I've said this, I've explained this to people over and over again. To qualify for asylum, you have to flee somewhere because of persecution or prosecution, and then you seek asylum in the first port that you reach, port of entry. Now, if you travel casually through 3 countries to get to the United States, you can't then get to our country and say, I'm seeking asylum. Well, you weren't running from the last 3 countries you just traveled through. It doesn't make sense, and that's why they get denied that. So you were living fine, and sometimes in wealthy European nations, and a lot of the Haitians who left 10 years ago have been living somewhere in South America. And when the Biden administration came in, they headed for America, and they would burn their papers or throw everything away right before they hit the American border and then reinvent themselves. So how many criminals slip through the cracks? We don't even know, honestly. But Biden's DHS knew this program was a scam, and they still restarted it. And the program was a Trojan horse to bring in otherwise inadmissible migrants, while pretending that they are enforcing the immigration laws. This wasn't about humanitarian needs at all. It was about flooding America with illegal migrants for political gain. And the Trump administration is doing exactly what the American people elected it to do: secure the border. This is just the first step in restoring law and order to the immigration system, guys. More Biden-era programs that enable illegal migrants or immigration into the country, they need to be scrapped ASAP as well. The end of this disastrous program, folks, is a major win for the rule of law. It's just the beginning. We need strict border enforcement, deportations for those who entered illegally, and end to all the loopholes that encourage mass migration. Ted?
Just like the thing that you say all the time, Joe, we don't need any new laws.
Yeah.
Just got to enforce the ones we got.
Just enforce the ones we have, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Tyler has been waiting patiently. Hey, Tyler, what say you? Okay, well, Tyler?
Mo money. Hey, can you hear me, Joe?
Now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Mo money, more money. Joe, remember $5,000 furniture allotment for the illegals? Remember that fiasco?
Oh my goodness. The hotels, the cards, the debit cards, the phones, the meals, and then they didn't like the food. So we had to give them ethnic appropriate and or stop giving us food, give us the stuff, we'll cook our own. And these are not, all these people should have been held in detention centers, not $450 a night hotels. I'm sorry, but that's, it's ruined the travel and tourist industry for major cities like New York, right? When you had people's, conventions and weddings get canceled, you couldn't get a hotel room. I mean, it's just, again, like with COVID, Tyler, we allowed this to happen. We lost our minds.
Yeah, no, the furniture is already in the hotel room. You don't put $5K in a hotel room. I guarantee you that was part of the refunneling the money. And somehow the fools in charge of this called criminals, thieves, and thugs. I guarantee you they ended up with that money. And you're forgetting all these, the 100 and something thousand illegals. You have shell corporations to hide your stolen money and a block of corporations to bring it back. I have a feeling there's a ton of money in small clips, although $5,000 a time for furniture is not that small. You're reappropriating most of that money, and these people aren't getting a penny of it. They're like what we call a shadow shell immigrants. Hey, Joe, I got a question. When the Homeland Security guy went through and swept up 350, a lot of them were 370 really bad, like criminals with murder records and all that. Why doesn't Michelle Wu, who's always talking about how great the police are and stuff, she gets up there and makes a politically correct statement about how we protect and love our immigrants. We're for everybody. Obviously, she's saying that for political reasons, but how many illegals vote and how many people actually agree with her? Why would someone so smart say something so stupid? Are they programmed to say stuff like that?
Well, I swear they are in some ways. I always, half jokingly wonder how Democrats all have the same talking points. And quite frankly, it can be impressive sometimes when you wake up one day, Tyler, and thousands of talking heads and Democrats have the same phrase and the same talking points. And it makes me wonder, and I used to joke a state senator that used to be on the show on a regular basis, do you guys have a website you log into, or do you get like a group text? How do you all know this is the position you are to take? These are the buzzwords you are to use. This is the talking point that you're going to have. And when you look at Wu, I mean, Wu is Pocahontas's protege, and worked for her. She was in her class and all this stuff, and she's out there and bragging about how safe it is. It's not safe because of your policies. Anybody that's safe is only because of the work of the Boston Police Department or the state police doing their jobs. That's really what that comes down to. And again, this whole concept of the sanctuary city, you understand that was a big game. Like that really, there's no such thing. You can't decide to have laws that contradict federal immigration law. It doesn't work that way, folks. It's just a big game and a lie you're telling yourself.
Right. Hey, Joe, I got to ask you, as our lovable and Ted, who's probably the smartest producer on the planet from all his years, I had to figure out the most probability or likelihood to explain $2 billion to Stacey Abrams, who has no experience in heat and fuel industry. That's got to be the ROI, the return on investment from all that propane money that the contractors made sure that went to the Ukraine. That's the only way you can get $2 billion from the biggest industry is gas. Where do you think that money came from if it's not propane kickback from Ukraine?
Oh, Tyler, I think the whole Ukraine situation, I've said this from day one, has been some kind. It was literally the corruption capital of the planet, which is why Obama, put the conditions of the anti-corruption task force back in 2014, and he puts the biggest crook in charge of it, Joe Biden, and then Joe leveraged the $1 billion to get the prosecutor fired that they took out of retirement to clean the act up, so to get the $1 billion. I mean, it's you can't even write this stuff, guys.
Truly, the fox washing the pen out.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, the prosecutor that gets fired by the corrupt vice president holding the $1 billion over the head of Ukraine is the guy that gets fired that they literally got out of retirement to clean everything up to get the $1 billion in the first place. You can't make this stuff up. Tyler, thank you for the call. Greatly appreciated it. We are coming up to the end of the hour here, but the other part is, and I don't have time to get into this story, I wanted to get into the Trump administration cracking down on illegal migrants living in public housing. And there's only a finite amount of public housing, folks. And if you got illegals living there, that means that a citizen does not live there. We'll save that maybe for tomorrow. But we do have a great show lined up for tomorrow. But this will wrap up the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget, this is a podcast. Go to wherever you get your podcasts like Spotify and subscribe to the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Back tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock, folks. Joe out.